Hello! In this video, we will be discussing how to determine the central idea and supporting details in an informational text. To do this, let's first talk about what is a central idea. The central idea of an informational passage is the most important point the author is trying to make. In other words, what is it the text is mostly about? When you are done reading the text or the passage, what is it, the one thing the author wants you to know? That is the central idea of the text. We use the supporting details to help us better understand the central idea. Supporting details are facts, examples, reasons, or descriptions that expand on the central idea. In other words, the supporting details help us to develop or elaborate on the central idea. Central ideas are oftentimes not stated in the text. You have to put the details together to understand or to determine the central idea. Let's practice. For example, if a class had just gone on a trip to an aquarium, and this is what the author wrote about it. On our trip to the aquarium, we found out that dolphins can talk to each other. We also discovered that manatees are related to elephants. These two sentences are supporting details to the central idea. What could we say is the central idea of this passage? What do these two details have in common? Well, they're both talking about the trip the students took and what they learned on their trip. So our central idea would be they are both what the students learned at the aquarium. So the central idea would be the students learned many things at the aquarium. And then these would be our supporting details. These help to develop or elaborate the central idea of what they learned at the aquarium. Similar to individual paragraphs, entire passages in text have a central idea. Although each paragraph has a central idea, the passage as a whole has one overall central idea that the author wants the reader to understand. Understanding the central idea of a text is being able to find the supporting details and will help you gain a better understanding of not just what the author is saying, but why the author is saying, the purpose behind him or her writing this passage. So let's practice. We'll start with a picture. We'll look at this picture. Here, this lady is saying, a cactus like this can survive for months without water. The girl says, and it defends itself with the spines. Notice the sign says, do not touch, and you can see all the spines on the cactus. We want to take a look at the supporting details in the picture to help us come up with a central idea as to why the illustrator may have drawn this picture. One of the details in the picture is that she says a cactus can live for months without water. That helps us better understand information about the cactus. Another detail is that the sign says the cactus should not be touched. This helps us understand that if we were to touch this, we could get hurt. So that's a detail again about the cactus. So now we know that the cactus can survive for months, that you shouldn't touch a cactus. What other detail do we know from the picture? We can see from the picture that the girl is saying the reason you can't touch it is because the spines of the cactus protect it. In other words, the spines help to keep the cactus safe. Other animals and humans don't want to touch it, which could harm it because of the spines. So now, when we look at our details all together, we see a cactus can survive for months without water. The sign tells us the cactus shouldn't be touched, and the spines of the cactus protect it. When we put all those details together, we can come up with a central idea or the main reason as to why the author drew this picture. In this case, not an author, but an illustrator. Why the illustrator would have made this picture. I think the central idea is that the cactus is a plant with adaptations that help it survive in the desert and defend itself against animals. Now, that means that the cactus is a plant with adaptations that help it survive in the desert. In other words, the fact that it can go months without water helps it survive in the desert and defend itself against animals. We know you shouldn't touch a cactus because of the spines, and the spines protect it. So each of these details helps elaborate or describe more about the central idea. The central idea is the cactus is a plant with adaptations that help it survive in the desert and defend itself against animals. Notice that wasn't stated in the picture, but we could infer it once we put all of these details together. Readers determine a central idea and supporting details so that you can better understand the text's meaning. A central idea often needs to be figured out by analyzing the supporting details. Think of yourself as a detective describing a complex situation and finding clues to state your observations. As you keep on reading, think about how you can determine the central idea of a text.